Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. It helps our page out a lot, and it's free to you. All you have to do is click a button and subscribe. Guess what, Brandon? On our last video, we got 2.5 thousand views, but only 498 of you are subscribed to our channel. How does that make you feel?
Sad.
I mean, it's free. All you have to do is click a button. Video number 3. We're going to talk a little bit. I think it's video number 3. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about my pregnancy, and then we'll go into my experience with labor, because my pregnancy wasn't as long as like a normal pregnancy would be. I gave birth at 26 weeks on the dot. The babies were born very premature. So we're just going to talk about my process of being pregnant and how it was for me. I know pregnancy is different for all women. This is just me. We are not medically
Professionals.
Yeah, we're not medical professionals.
We only know what Google tells us.
We are very much Google doctors. We Google everything. And then, of course, we know what our doctors told me and us at appointments. But let's jump right into it. Where do you want to start?
I guess we could start it when they were made.
No. We're not going to start when they were made. We can start off with how early I started showing. So at 4 weeks is whenever I tested positive on my pregnancy test, and then come 6 weeks I already had a pregnancy bump, and I can put a picture here of me at 6 weeks pregnant. And I know that most of it would be bloating at that point, but by this time the bloating was over and I still had a bump, so I kind of felt like it was twins. We had no idea that it would be quadruplets. And then aside from that, I was exhausted. Like the first, how long would you say?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of you. We found out at 6 weeks. You found out you're pregnant at 4 weeks. Found out
Quadruplets at
6 weeks. Yeah, and those 2 weeks you slept for about a week of that.
Yeah, like I don't think
nonstop.
I hardly made it to work.
I mean, like, come home from work. Usually she'd cook. I'd get out in the yard, piddle around and do stuff, but it was like, I come home, I cook, I cleaned, because she was just like dead.
Turner is an active sleeper, so he'll do like this screaming, but he's asleep. I've done gotten used to it. I would jump up and go check on him, but he usually stops by himself. I think he just stopped. So we found out we're pregnant with quadruplets. We go to, that was at my OB, and I got an ultrasound there. And then immediately after I went and met my regular OB, they recommended me to a specialist because this was a pregnancy that they've never seen before. We go to our first specialist appointment. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I was still in denial, even though we had seen them at that point, like 2 different ultrasounds. So, we knew, this is happening. So we go into it. For one thing, we have to drive to, can we say what city we were going? We had to drive to New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand New Orleans. I'm from small town out in the country. Like, I just don't like the city. So for one, just driving through traffic and everything already had me just stressed out, because I was thinking like, man, my kids are going to have to be born here. We're going to spend so much time here. Like, this stinks. It ended up not being that bad, because we always spent all of our time at the hospital. We were barely in the city, and New Orleans isn't that bad, actually, once you spend some time there. So anyway, that's beside the point. But, that was just kind of going into it where my head was at. And then we go in, and it's a big hospital, bigger than any hospital we've ever been into. We go, we meet the doctor. She was great. She, laid out everything for us, every single detail, even details that were kind of hard to hear, and different options and things like that. And of course, one of the options was, they call it like multi-fetal reduction, which
if you choose to do it, you have to do 3 leaving 1. There's not an option to do 1 or 2, because I remember that specifically. Like, so the option was given to us that we would fly to New York.
Fly to New York, yeah, because it's not legal in Louisiana, but it wasn't anything we entertained.
It was something that we had to decide like pretty like soon if that was something that we wanted to do, which obviously
but we knew we somebody else that had gone through this had kind of told her that was going to be something they bring up,
just a heads up, because it's not something that I've ever imagined having to decide on. So we had already decided.
Yeah,
it wasn't
just
something we
that
weren't going to do.
wasn't an option. We just don't.
Right. And it was never brought up again. So
Yeah.
after that was talked about, we moved on, and she laid out all of the different scenarios as if when the babies were born, like with them being premature, because we knew they were going to be premature no matter what, whether it be 24 weeks, 26 weeks, 32 weeks, because 32 weeks was going to be when they took them.
Okay, yeah, that'd be like the
max
maximum
that they would let me go.
That was like the goal. It was a super optimistic goal, but it was just kind of like, hey, if we're going to get anywhere, let's get to 32 weeks.
Right.
And I think what was the minimum?
24.
23, I think.
No. Okay, yeah.
23 was the
because it's a level 4 NICU, and they're able to do 23 weekers. So.
That's what they considered viability.
She laid out like all the different scenarios if they were born at certain weeks. She went ahead and told us that with premature babies that it can be as simple as them having eye issues to as drastic as other issues that they could be born with, and so just to lay all of those out for us. And then we weren't able to do the testing that most people do with blood work at that appointment. So she, at the next appointment, it was the anatomy scan, and they checked the back of their necks, because most people would get blood work drawn and do the testing that way for like genetical testing. But since I had so many babies in me, we just did the testing on the back of the neck where they measure the amount of liquid that's in there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I learned so much stuff while I still don't even know half of it, but so we went through all of that, whatever, and I just remember like all of these appointments, I just sat there, and we actually brought Brandon's mom with us, because I just knew I was gonna be so just taking in all of it, and she just sat over there and took notes for us, because
it was a ton
so
of
much information. So much information.
Yeah.
And I never, I don't know, I don't feel like I ever let it like soak in and actually get to me, because like in my head, and it makes me so it made me so emotional at the time that I gave birth, because I am such a competitive person, and I have like a athletic background, that like when I heard like 32 weeks would be amazing, I wanted to make it to 32 weeks so bad. And whenever I didn't, I just remember it was so heartbreaking. I felt like I failed the babies, and my body just failed whatever. But
yeah, I remember on the way home after that first appointment, you're already looking at you're already like mapping out, okay, 32 weeks is going to be this specific week, so you were already like, all right, we're going to be planning to have them on this week, so we'll have all our stuff in a row. And I'm just kind of like, hey, I don't know,
yeah,
it's super optimistic.
And it was just heartbreaking that I gave birth so early, and I thought that I could make it so much further. And a fun fact, and so funny, we booked our 1-year anniversary trip for a cruise, and like when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, okay, no big deal, like I can just change my due date around a little bit to where like it was like a week off, to where because they don't allow you on a cruise ship past a certain week. And I was like, with one baby it's gonna be fine, like it's just a week off, no big deal, like my period didn't actually start then whatever, because regular OBs go based off of that. And another fun fact, the specialist appointment actually goes off of the size of the baby. So we had 2 different due dates from an OB compared to my specialist. That was just a little fun fact. But anyway, when we found out it was 4, we were like, absolutely not. Yeah.
That was upsetting. Obviously it became no big deal because we had to, but it was kind of like, that was gonna be our big, 1-year anniversary. Like, yes, so much fun.
Yeah, finally, the weekend that I found out it was quadruplets, it was supposed to be my best friend's bachelorette trip, and he was so not okay that I was just like, there's no way I can.
Well, not only that, but we were both just so. It was so surreal. We were both like, okay, what do you do? Like, you have 4 babies inside of you. What can you do? Like, can you go?
How cautious do I need to be?
I think y'all were going to Austin, Texas. Yeah, so we were like, what, can you go out? Can you stay up past 10 o'clock at night? Like, what are the parameters on what you can and can't do?
Point. Right.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of different factors that
played
played
it safe, and she just stayed home.
Yeah. So we were going to the doctor at this point how often would you say?
Every 2 weeks, I think.
I think we were going every 2 weeks, and I got an ultrasound every single time that we went. Like, I have so many ultrasound pictures that I have an entire book that's just ultrasound pictures of the babies.
We would leave every day. Look, there's some on the fridge right there.
We have them all over the place.
Just like this long of pictures just stacked up.
Yeah, just
So,
of every baby. And I remember when we were doing the anatomy scan, they were like, okay, you're going to come back. I'm pretty sure this was at 12 weeks or maybe 14. They could do everything earlier at the specialist appointment because their ultrasounds were more high tech, so they could see in greater detail. Like they even could guess the
yeah, they were able
they
to
could
see
even
the
guess
genders.
the genders. I think the first ultrasound that we went.
Yeah, and that was probably like 10 weeks.
Yeah, it was
They
so early.
they gave us an educated guess.
They were like, don't mark our word. This is just
They
like
were
what we
close.
see. They were very close.
They
They
were
said 3 boys, 1 girl, and it's actually 2 girls and 2 boys. So they were very
And
close.
the 2 that were boys, they said, you know, these are definitely boys. They said which is Turner
only
and Walker.
one of them was iffy, which was Collins, because she was so hidden and so like far back that they just couldn't get a good picture. So they did really good at guessing. Anatomy scan. They were like, warning for the anatomy scan: bring a snack. Make sure you use the bathroom
long
before.
to begin with.
They were like, plan to be here half of the day. We're gonna start you in the morning. You probably won't be gone till the afternoon. And the babies participated, I would say, very well that day, because it actually only was about 2-3 hours, I would say.
Yeah.
Would you say?
I think so. Yeah.
And then the pictures that they just couldn't, there was no way they could get, they just got on the next ultrasound. So I was done with anatomy scans like very easily. And I had to take the glucose test, and that was just at my regular OB. And I was so terrified to drink that juice because of how people talk about it. And in my opinion, it is not that bad, because I'm very bad with liquid medicine, and he can tell you that. And I was very certain that was going to taste like liquid medicine, and I was terrified to drink it. But it's really not that bad. It's like a really sugary Kool-Aid. So, anyway, the end of April. I think it was like the last weekday of April, because it was my last day of work. We went for just a regular checkup at our specialist. They were going to do...
Well, before this, we had actually went on vacation.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
We had decided, you know, we knew that going into the summer, things were going to get tough to
this
kind of travel
like
and
baby
stuff.
moon.
Yeah, so this was going to be our kind of final vacation. We went to Panama City with some friends and spent the whole week down there.
I was actually having what they call... Some people call it different things. It's either like lightning crotch or fire crotch, or what was the other term that they used for it? I was experiencing that, and one of my good friends is actually a nurse, and she was on the trip with us, and she was like, look, this is what I think it is. And I remember, like, I would walk, and I would just have to stop, and Brandon would be like, are you okay? Are you okay? And it was just, like, really bad cramping.
But for the most part, I mean,
yeah,
that was
pretty, the only...
You know, we weren't worried about it.
Right.
We weren't
it wasn't
concerned.
anything that I was like, I have to rush to the hospital right now. Like,
we
it
enjoyed our
wasn't that,
trip. Like,
yeah.
we, you know, it was nothing to it. Then we come home, and I go back to work, and then that following week we have that appointment.
Right.
Which was just a routine appointment.
Yeah, like
go
it
check
was
up on everybody.
It was so routine that we made a video right before it, not knowing that I was about to be admitted to the hospital. So if you go like on my TikTok, you can see the video. It was just waiting for our doctor appointment type of video, where we did a quick little Q&A, and then we go into the doctor's appointment, and they do the belly ultrasound. And since the babies were so Riley, we didn't know Riley at the time that it was Riley, but baby A, which was Riley, she was so low they couldn't get a good picture of the cervix, so they had to swap the type of ultrasound that they were doing, because she wanted to check my cervix really good. And then they came in, and I was 16 weeks pregnant at this time, and they came in, and usually they would sit us in like a room with a table, and I would sit in the table. And then this one,
you could tell like they had some
they moved us
bad
to
news.
Yeah, which
not necessarily bad news.
At the time, it was bad and scary,
yeah.
because we didn't know what it was going to mean. But now looking back, it really wasn't that bad, but it can be bad.
Yeah, it could be bad.
Like it could have
worked
gone
out.
Right. So they brought us into like a room that kind of looked like a meeting area. And I remember me and Brandon were just so anxious, because we were at this appointment alone. And our doctor came in, and she was like, do you remember the conversation? Because I just remember crying.
So I remember it was our doctor, and there was a medical student with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she let the medical student kind of take the lead and kind of lead the conversation. And basically she said that the gist of it was that her cervix, is that the right word?
Yeah, they wanted
you want it to be
a certain inch,
X amount of inches, and hers was
half
shorter
of
than
the
what they
size
wanted. Yeah,
of what they wanted to be.
So basically, their fear was that she was going to go into labor way too soon. Obviously 16 weeks would be, the worst case scenario, because the babies wouldn't have been viable at that point.
Yeah.
Is that, they could do the cerclage, which you don't know what that is. Basically, go in and they tie her cervix up to where,
She explained it like...
it closes it, basically.
Yeah, she explained it like a drawstring on a pair of sweatpants, where they go in and they put the string around the cervix and they pull it like a drawstring.
So it was either...
She stressed mostly that she didn't know, there's no way of telling when this started.
Yeah, so
like
the other option was just to, give it another week and come back and see.
Like basically like flipping a quarter. Is it gonna keep thinning out, or is it gonna hold off until the 23 weeks? So we made... Yeah,
she left it up to us, and we told her whatever you think. This is all a lot to us.
And she basically
whatever
was
you think
like,
the safest thing is for the babies and Megan.
Yes, and she basically just said, like, she couldn't make the decision, but this is how she sees it. Like, we could sit here and do nothing, or we can do something, and we know that we did the best we could.
Yeah, know that we did everything we could. In the instance, or in the scenario that the worst case happens, we know we tried everything.
Yeah, so that's kind of what she said, and then she left it at that so that we could decide. I remember she stepped out, and because I had started getting emotional at this time, and I remember she stepped out so that we could talk about what we wanted to do. And I couldn't stop crying, because, again, I felt like my body was just giving up, like, the one thing it was supposed to do, which I know quadruplets is not ideal for, like, a woman's body to carry. But this was the one thing that I have always thought that I could do, was carry a baby, and in my instance, babies. So it was just so heartbreaking, and it just hit me all at once. So I remember I was telling Brandon, like, I want to do it. Like, there's obviously any type of surgery is so scary, and up to this point have only had 2 surgeries, so scary and big. But so we decided that we were going to do it. And I remember we told her that, and she's like, okay, report upstairs, they're going to be waiting for you up there. And we were like, wait, like,
we're doing this now?
Yeah, we're getting admitted right now. And I was like, I guess so. And I was just so shaken up. Like, I made him call everybody. So he called his mom and told her, and we didn't have anything. Like, they had to bring us, because we were staying there for the whole weekend, because they wanted to place the cerclage and then watch and make sure that it was going to hold before they sent me home, because they also stressed that if I go home and the cerclage like gives out or fails, that it could be very bad for me.
Right.
Because I had to go and do all of it by myself, and I was fine. I was keeping it together.
For any of it.
Yeah, I was fine. I was keeping it together. They brought me into like this room, and it almost looked like a closet. And they brought me into like this closet room, and the one thing I cannot stand about surgeries, because they did it for this surgery, and then they did it again for my C-section. Nobody was talking to me. They were talking like around me, and that just makes me so anxious. So I remember the only person who finally was talking to me was the
anesthesiologist.
The anesthesiologist. She was so nice. She was like, let me know if you need anything to calm down, because I was doing so good. And then they put my legs inside of the compression, where it like massages my legs to help prevent like blood clotting during the surgery. And as soon as they locked my legs into that, I lost it. Like, I didn't like the feeling of being held down. So whenever that happened, I was like, look, I'm gonna need something just to calm my heart rate down, because it was just racing so bad. And she was so great. She was talking to me the whole time. They did the cerclage. It did not take long at all.
No.
But I remember coming back to the room, and I guess that stuff that I had gotten her to give me to kind of calm me down, I came off of that so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
got sick. Like, I think we had canes.
I remember my face went complete. Like, my mom was like, my face went complete white.
Yeah.
She could just tell I was not okay. Like, I was like, Mom, something's wrong.
Yeah,
that I did not come off of that surgery very well. So for my C-section, I decided I wasn't going to get like the calming side of everything, because I just didn't react to it well at all. But so I had my surgery. And then after that, my doctor decided, because I was a kindergarten teacher, so I have to be on my feet at all times, and have to be like active with my students, being a kindergarten teacher. And I remember after that surgery, she decided that I'd be put on like a modified bed rest. So basically, I wasn't allowed to lift.
Like a home rest, basically.
Yeah, so I wasn't allowed to lift anything heavy. I could only walk very short distances. He stressed all of these so hard. Especially for the first probably month. Yeah, probably the first month. he only let me walk like from the couch to the kitchen, back to the couch, couch to the bed, couch to the bathroom. And then like eventually like because the more I walked, the more that the babies would stress on my would stress on my cerclage. So like every now and again I would get to go outside and kind of just take a breather, or every now and again I'd get to go to like my mom's house and hang out with my mom just because I needed to see people, because being stuck on the couch started to drive me absolutely insane. Which we talked to my doctor about this too, like, do I need to just lay on the couch 24/7? And I remember her stressing like that is not an option because of how much was going on inside of my body. Like my blood pressure with preeclampsia was a very, very big, like the further along we got in my pregnancy, we were monitoring my blood pressure nonstop because of how much my body was working for the babies. The possibility of blood clots, like there was just so much that me laying on the couch 24/7 was not a good idea. So like whenever I did go into labor at 26 weeks, I was like asking like all of these what ifs. Like he did so good at being like I wasn't going to tell you at the time, but I felt it was coming because you did all you could do. Like I just saw it in your body. I was just thankful that I made it to 26 weeks because the babies did so well when they were born. And I would say I did, my body held pregnancy very well, and I know that's not the case for all women. But I mean, as far as like symptoms and everything with pregnancy, I started getting heartburn like the last probably 2 months, month and a half, whatever, of pregnancy, where my heartburn was so bad it was starting to kick me up at night. And I had I turned my nose up to some foods, but it wasn't like they made me projectile vomit. Like I never had any of those type of issues. I was just extremely tired. It's like I couldn't get enough sleep. And I know that's not the case for all women, so I'm very thankful for that. And like Brandon said, I didn't have any like major issues that some people can have with pregnancy. Like they stressed the preeclampsia, and I never had to handle that or whatever. I did have a moment where we thought my blood pressure was high and we couldn't get it to come back down, so we did have to go to the local hospital down here, and they were so shaken up that I was pregnant with quadruplets. So whenever I was having signs of possible labor, I was like, take me to New Orleans. Like I'm not going back to our local hospital, because it just stunned them that I had quadruplets and they didn't know how to accommodate that. And I'm not going to go into too much detail of that, but it wasn't a very good experience. We're going to talk about like my labor and delivery on the next video, because I feel like we've already gone pretty long on this topic and how pregnancy was for me. But if y'all have any questions that we might not have answered, you can leave them in the comments. Do you have any questions that you want to ask me that I didn't touch on?
I think the only thing I thought of was like, what was the scariest part? Like, at what moment were you the scariest? I'm assuming it'd be like the cerclage.
Yeah, I've never been pregnant before, so I don't know. This was my first pregnancy, my only pregnancy. So I never knew what exactly to expect. And I guess like just coming off of like from what other people have told me, and I will talk about this all the time, and I try so hard to catch myself whenever I do it to other people, but like I've always strongly disliked when people are like, just wait until this, just wait until this. I feel like during my entire pregnancy, I just was so thankful for everything that I was experiencing. Like nothing ever really like got to me. Like their kicks, like some people are like, I cannot stand when the babies are kicking me in my ribs, or baby. I'm so used to saying babies. I don't think I ever complained about any of that. Like I was just so thankful, and I loved pregnancy so much.
I was kind of freaked out by the kicks. Like I remember the first time like you felt one, like you made me come feel, and it just weirded me out. It's just like there's people in there moving, and so like I remember it was weird, like the progression of that. Like the first one I remember, like you made me come feel, and it just felt like somebody flicked their belly from the inside. So it wasn't that strong, but kind of like as we got on closer to them being born, like I remember Walker was super active. He was always kicking. Like you could see him, like he was throwing elbows in there, like trying to get people out of his way, because you could see him, like if you just laid down and just stare at her belly, you'd see him just like throw an elbow or kick a knee, and it freaked me out.
Yeah, and Riley always had hiccups. Like it never failed. She always had hiccups. So I don't know, like I don't want to say anything like really stressed me, because I just loved being pregnant so much. I loved, like people always stress about like their bodies changing. I loved capturing every bit of my body growing babies. Like even now I feel like I have stretch marks, and they're just there. Like the ones on my bum bother me a little bit, but it's just because, like, I've never had them before, but it's not anything that I feel like, I mean, you can correct me. I don't feel like I complain about it. Like, I don't know. I'm just so proud of my body for doing what it did, and it does bother me when people are like, because my body went back to how, like, skinny wise, it went back pretty quickly, and people are like, it doesn't even look like you.
Yeah, mine didn't. For some reason, I don't really know. All the weight that I put on during pregnancy, it's still here.
Anyway, people
It's
are
not
like,
fair.
people are like, it does not look like you carried 4 babies, and I'm like, y'all, I promise I did it. Don't doubt my body for what it did. Like, do not tell me that I didn't do it, because I did. I did the dang thing.
Yeah, you killed it. You were living the dream. You slept all day. I mean, that's the dream.
I know, I
We
always
all
mess
want.
around. He made me so lazy during pregnancy. Like, I got to get back to it, but that's in my New Year's resolution. Like, I gave up taking naps, except for today. I took a nap today because I had to bounce back from the other night. But I've been doing really good.
I'm not here to check you, so I don't know.
Anyway,